everybody, and welcome to another episode of Eating at a Meeting. There was no promotion on this live. I am just going live with myself today and you all. And I wanted to talk about the food allergy regulations that are coming down, that are coming out across the country. And I just thought it was an important thing to update you all on what kind of things are coming through legally regulation wise in the states and as with the FDA Food Code. So there's a couple of things, quite a few things that are brewing across the country as it relates to food allergy safety and training, as well as food allergy labeling and understanding what's in our food. So the one that I want to talk about is, and I've already talked about these on the podcast a little bit with guests. So I'm rehashing them for you a little bit. And please let me know if you've got any kind of questions with it. The first one that I want to talk about, which I haven't talked on the podcast about before, is actually Pennsylvania's House Bill number 77. And that is for the state of Pennsylvania. And lawmakers and food allergy advocates have joined forces across the aisle to push for passage of legislation that would make the state's restaurants and other food retail establishments safer for people with food allergies. It is primary sponsors are Republican Arvind Venkat and Natalie Malayak from Pennsylvania. And it did pass in the House earlier this year. And it is requiring that, let's see, I'm going to make sure that I have this right. It's requiring that training be required for any food service person coming through, working in a restaurant or food facility, have training on food allergies. Require restaurants and food service establishments to display informational posters advising employees about major food allergens and the symptoms of an allergic reaction. They would also be required to include a statement on their menu on whether written notice to customers about food allergies being used, and request that customers inform the employees serving them about their food allergies. So it is not about labeling of their menu items, but it is about regulating or providing clearer training for all food service handlers in the state of Pennsylvania around food allergens. And this is an important step. And I do want to advocate, or do want to say too, that Pennsylvania was the first state to adopt the 2022 Food Code back in 2023, saying that unpackaged food should be labeled with the top 9 allergens. So this will actually be very much of an addition to that. It still needs to go to the state or the Senate Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee to go further into the Senate and pass. So that's an important step forward. Training for food service handlers is really, really important to understand that. We'll put a link to this press conference that happened, and let me get that comment. I'm going to put a comment in here with the link to the press conference that talks about it. And again, I'm going to put the headline in here, what we're talking about. So whoever has joined me, thank you for joining me. And let's see, we're talking, Natasha Carey. Hi, honey. Hey, I haven't seen you. She's on Instagram. So I am talking about here U.S. food regulations pertaining to food allergies, and just updating you on the variety of things that are happening across the country, federally as well as statewide, as it relates to food allergies. That first one I just posted is a press conference about what happened in Pennsylvania. And Andrea Doyle, thank you from Skift for sending me that story as well. But would love to get some more information about that as well. Hoping to talk to the senator on that on the show too. In California, it is California Senate Bill 68, the Allergen Disclosure for Dining Experiences, also known as the Addie Act. I had Addie and her mom on the show a couple of weeks ago, and to talk about this, it has passed one more step in moving forward in the state of California, and this would require that food in restaurants and service establishments be labeled if it contains any of the top 9 allergens. So this is going a step above Pennsylvania and requiring that food actually be labeled on the menus. So it is not just the training. It is requiring training as well, but this is really about disclosing the allergens so that when you as a guest in that restaurant actually can understand what those hidden allergens are that you might not see by just reading the menu. That actually has passed and is moving forward. I'm trying to find the link for that one. Where'd it go? Here we go. Nope, wrong one. Sorry. I'll find that in a second and post the links to that one. But that one is moving forward as well and so it has to get approval on one more side. And they will be meeting in July for that. And I'm trying to find that list. I'll find it for you and give it to you. So California is going a little bit further. In the state of Illinois, I had Senator from Illinois on the show last week or the week before last week to talk about the Senate Bill 1288, which is groundbreaking legislation that will require all Illinois food handlers to be trained on celiac disease and gluten-free safety. So this is it's different in all the other ones because the training has always been focused on food allergies, not just celiac. And this one is focused on celiac and gluten-free training for food service handlers. And the senator was instrumental in doing this because she witnessed her chief of staff having trouble eating at a restaurant and gave her a grid and told her to figure out what she could eat based on that grid. So will help provide that training, and it has actually been passed by both sides and is it is actually on the governor's desk to sign into law next month. So I just put the link into that conversation that I had with the senator last week on that. So you can watch that show. It was really interesting to listen to her and what she's learned on the impact of if you do have celiac or you don't non-celiac gluten sensitivity, the impact that it has on your dining experience physically as well as mentally. So it was really interesting to hear the senator's take on that and why she's working forward on that. So again, that's Pennsylvania, California, Illinois. Those are all acts that are currently in the process of getting passed to require food safety training as well as labeling in those different states. And then the other one that I want to talk about today is also the TTB. I had a show a couple of months ago about the regulations that the TTB wants to require alcohol facts labeling, including major allergen labeling for alcoholic beverages. So currently, alcohol does not have to require any kind of labeling on it as it pertains to calories or nutrition information or allergens that it includes. So this is still in process, and they actually are taking comments until August from the public on how this would work. So I'm going to provide that. I'm going to provide the links to that. This is the link that I'm providing now. I'm going to say this is the allergen labeling that we can post comments on as consumers. And then the next one is about the nutrition information for alcohol. Both of these are hugely important to understand because, again, those are not currently required on alcohol, and there are a lot of hidden allergens in alcohols, whether it's from the processing phase of making the alcohol or hidden ingredients in the alcohol. And the processing could include eggs, it can include wheat, and then ingredients can be a variety of different things, whether it's nuts or peanuts or nuts or eggs, again, in that filtration process. So this is still open for not debate, but open up for comments that the TTB has said. And let me find exactly where that is. Oh yeah, So it's Notice 237 and Notice 238. The TTB is proposing to require disclosure of per serving alcohol, calorie, and nutrition content information in an alcohol facts statement, like the white statement on the box on the side of a box food, and disclose of all major food allergens used in the production of alcoholic beverages on all alcoholic beverage labels, subject to the TTB's regulatory authority. It is proposing compliance of 5 years from the date of publication. So if it gets approved tomorrow, then they have 5 years to do that for any final rules resulting from these proposals. And they have extended the comments phase to be until August 15th. So we still have another 2 months to make any kind of comments on this as it relates. So as a consumer who has food allergies, or as a business who sells alcohol, and you want to comment on this, please do. There are people who have lost their lives from undisclosed allergens, gone into anaphylactic shock because undisclosed allergens on alcohol. So I think this is a really important bill that would come through that would be nationwide for that. And again, it would not become effective for 5 years once it's finalized. So we're at 2025. So probably, I'm sure people will do the labeling before then, but we're looking at 2030, 2031 for it to be finalized. And so please take a look at that. And then the food code. The food code, the 2022 food code, which I mentioned briefly a few minutes ago, the FDA Food Code is a guideline for states to adopt as it relates to their own food code. So whether it's statewide food code or a county food code, they use the FDA Food Code as a guideline for what they design their own food codes for. Well, states have, I'm going to pull up this adoption. The Retail Food Safety Regulatory Association Collaborative actually has a dashboard showing you which states and territories have adopted the food code, which food codes that they have done. And currently there are Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Utah, Mississippi, Indiana, Ohio, Hawaii. Oh, that's a new one since I looked at it the last time. Georgia, Connecticut, Illinois, Colorado, and Mississippi have adopted the 2022 food code. I'm still digging in to find out exactly what aspects of each of those food codes that they are adopting. I did talk to one state and they said they were adopting everything but the line about allergens. I'm going to reconfirm that before I name that state. So really looking at that, and I know the state of Colorado told me that the state is adopting the food code as is, except for the county and city of Denver. They have their own food code and they're adopting. I need to figure out which parts they're adopting of the FDA food code. So that makes it a little questionable on doing events and how you manage the food code in different counties and inside a state. But the food code, the 2022 food code, does say the major change in the 2022 food code, and I'm going to post that food code link right there for you. Let me see if there's anybody on Instagram over here that has a question. Hello, Chef Megan. The biggest changes to the food code in 2022, and I've talked about this before, is that it does say that unpackaged food should be labeled if it contains any of the top 9 allergens. And so that's in bulk food, and I'm only naming the changes, the big changes that actually relate to food allergens. One is that to revise the definition of the term major food allergen in subparagraph 1A to add the word sesame as the 9th major food allergen effective January 1st, 2023. And then the cross-reference to major food allergens labeling in bulk food available for consumer dispensing. And to 33-602-12 is amended to add that subset C to inform consumers of major food allergens in unpackaged food via written means. And so that means that unpackaged food should be available for the end attendee, the end eater, to be able to understand what the allergens are. And I'm going to read exactly what that says. Amended public reasons for 3.3-302.11 to revise paragraph 2 to appropriately characterize terminology from allergen cross-contamination to allergen cross-contact. So they're talking about the differences in those as well. Okay, so 3-602.12, amended public health reasons to add paragraph 3 under the subheading food labels and other forms of information, and added a new paragraph to address inclusion of written notification of food allergens in unpackaged food. And so that is saying that, again, when we're serving buffets, when we're serving restaurant food, it should be labeled. Their recommendation is that the top 9 allergens be labeled so that you and I, as the consumer or the attendee at an event, knows what those allergens are. Top 9 allergens, which is wheat, egg, soy, milk, tree nuts, peanuts, fish, sesame, and what did I say? Milk, egg, tree nuts, peanuts, fish. Oh my gosh. Top 9: peanuts, tree nuts, fish, shellfish, soy, milk, egg, sesame, and wheat. Sorry. I needed to make sure I got them all in there. So that is what the FDA Food Code does require, or does suggest that they do. And again, going back to the states that have adopted the 2022 Food Code, I am researching exactly what they will be doing in each of those things, as well as putting out when those become effective. The other one that I want to bring up too is also the Sergio Lopez Food Allergy Awareness Act. That is in the state of Texas. That actually was enacted in 2023 and became effective in September 1st of 2024. And that requires any food establishment in the state of Texas to require, similar to Pennsylvania, that all food service handlers must do allergen training. There must be posters put up in the employee areas that are doing food service, as well as information on food allergy reactions. The last I understood, it had not been added to the food code yet of Texas, so I need to follow up on that. But that is a law. So when you're doing events in Texas, please ask the establishments there to see the allergy posters. Ask them it does require training as well. So ask them who has gone through the food allergy training in the state of Texas from their food handler's side, and when that information has been updated and how often they do that training. So there are a lot of things brewing and in the works across the country as it relates to food allergen safety. And I think it's really important as a meeting professional to understand what these rules and regulations are, so that we can make sure that when we're contracting with a venue or contracting with a catering company, we can ask these questions and understand what they're doing and how they're doing it, and if they're following the law of that state, because we definitely want to make sure that they are following the rule of the law in that state. But again, you might want to check if you don't get an answer, and I did this in Texas last year. One of my hotels said, I don't have any idea what the Sergio Lopez Food Allergy Training Act is. And so I called the health department and I asked the health department, I said, I know this became law on September 1st of 2024. Why does this hotel in your county not know anything about it? And so it does take time. But the more that we ask about them, the more we ask about these laws and these regulations, and understanding how our partners, food safety partners, food catering partners, manage allergens is really, really important. It's important for not only the safety of our attendees, but it's important for the credibility of you as the event host, the credibility as the venue of that, and the risk involved. I'm like, the last thing that you want to do is have an event where somebody goes to the hospital from a food allergic reaction. I was doing a podcast episode, being interviewed today on a podcast, and I was asked the question about food allergies and things, but this gentleman also shared an event where the attendees asked to meet with the chef and interview the food service people at the venue that they were hosting their event after the fact to basically say thank you for what they were doing and how they made them feel. They put that out on social media. That wasn't the event planner. That wasn't the venue doing it. That was an attendee who was made to feel safe and included with the food and beverage they were serving. They put it out on their social media, and which then got that venue some high credibility for what they do and how they manage food allergies. So I want those to be the stories that we're talking about. Like, hey, this venue did this, and this venue did this in positive light versus, hey, this venue, somebody died at this venue because they didn't label food, right? They didn't know what was in their food. 2 months ago, I did an event, and I just posted this on my own social media about a gentleman who requested halal 2 days before the event. And the chef at the JW Marriott in Austin was like, sure, no problem. And accommodated him with multiple meals over the 3 or 4 days that he was there. And that gentleman, similar to the one that I mentioned earlier, just a minute ago, he wanted to meet with the chef, and he wanted to thank that chef personally for the great food that he was provided to meet his halal diet. And they're like, they took a picture together, and I think not the relationship, but the respect from both sides of them, like the chef respected his needs and actually shared with the fact that he chatted with a culinary intern at the hotel to talk about, hey, you're from India, can you help me come up with some menu ideas and authentic menu ideas? And then the attendee was so appreciative that the authenticity of the flavors, he was blown away by how good the food was. So there's respect on both sides of that conversation. I shared that story. My client shared that story. The chef's general manager of the hotel shared that story. So that's the kind of story that I want to go viral. I don't want the story of a kid dying or a person at your event going viral because something was unlabeled. So again, I'm really talking about the legislation that's coming around across the country. I touched on Pennsylvania, and you can find the links in there, which is House Bill 77, requiring restaurants and food retail establishments to informational posters on food allergens and the symptoms, and putting a label on their menus. And just so you know, there's a couple of other states that already have that kind of information. I'm going to go to my Thrive website real quick and resources. I'll put this link up here for you, which I still need to do. I still need to update this with some of these food regulations that are coming across right now, but I'll give this link to you now. Let's see. So the Restaurant Allergy Act. So Massachusetts has a Restaurant Allergy Act to display food allergy awareness posters in staff areas and notifications on menus. That's been around for quite a few years now. Virginia in 2015 enacted HB 2090. The State Board of Health is required to include training standards that address food safety and food allergy awareness in its safety regulations. St. Paul, Minnesota enacted a food allergy ordinance that requires all establishments with restaurant license to display the approved allergen awareness poster and provides 7% discount on restaurant catering license. Well, that's for the restaurants. Michigan in 2015, Public Act 516 certified food safety managers in most restaurants are required to take training course with food allergen awareness component. Rhode Island in 2012, restaurants were required to display food allergy awareness poster in the staff area, incorporate customer notification on all menus and menu boards. And then New York City requires food service establishments to display posters with information on food allergy in conspicuous places for the food service staff. So that's 6 states right there. And then we've got Pennsylvania, California, Illinois. So that takes 10 states that actually now have some food safety allergen information in there that it's already enacted or it's coming to fruition. And then we've got the alcohol, the TTB, which will require food allergy information, disclosure information on alcoholic beverages. So there's a lot going on, a lot to know. I will try to keep you updated on where everything is. And you can also reference back to the episodes from each of these guests that I've spoken to about this. If you go to eatingatameeting.com, let's see, I'll post that up there, and you can see all the eatingatameeting.com, and that is a website with all 310 episodes of the show, but I will actually create a filter that you can do for food allergy laws and regulations, and you can listen to all of the episodes that are related to that. And then you can also find them on my YouTube channel and where did it go? And you can find all of those different informations about the conversations that I've had with attorneys on this, as well as different advocates across, and senators and different advocates across this. So thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions about the food allergy laws and regulations that are coming about or that are currently in process, please let me know. I'm here to help. I'm here to help you reduce your risk and create safer, more inclusive food and beverage experiences. So thanks. And until then, stay safe. Until next time, stay safe and eat well. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Eating at a Meeting podcast, where every meal matters. I'm Tracy Stuckrath, your food and beverage inclusion expert. Call me and let's get started right now on creating safe and inclusive food and beverage experiences for your customers, your employees, and your communities. Share the podcast with your friends and colleagues at our Eating at a Meeting Facebook page and on all podcast platforms. To learn more about me and receive valuable information, go to tracystuckrath.com. And if you'd like more information on how to feed engagement, nourish inclusion, and bolster your bottom line, then visit eatingatameeting.com.